Hello travellers, it's Jay here, and today I'm going to be looking and talking about my Flame Reave build. This is more of a build diary than a guide, but I will go over like how to build the skills and the passives. So first, we're just going to look at the gear. I'm not going to go over every single piece. There will be a planner in the description, but I'm going to talk about Sunreef is the unique we're building around. It allows us to have this big AoE circle with Flame Reave without having to spec into the passive nodes within the Flame Reave tree that do the same thing. So it saves you a huge amount of skill points and allows you to build a lot more damage. It also doesn't have terrible mods on it. Now let's look at the helmet first. So here you want Enchant Weapon because it's one of your biggest damage increasing skills. Gives a huge amount of flat and increased. You want cooldown recovery for increased cooldown recovery with Enchant Weapon, Teleport, and Flame Ward. And then percent health, preferably percent armor because we get a lot of flat, but I have this Exalted Helmet with flat armor, so I thought I'll use this anyway. So this chest piece is good, but everything's a little low here apart from the armor. The armor's good, the health could be higher, and then you want plus to Flame Ward charges and plus to Flame Reave. Extra points in Flame Reave, extra damage. And the weapon can be a little bit flexible here. So really what you'd want is melee lightning damage, and then either melee attack speed or crit multi, and then you would seal the other one, and then chance to shred armor, and then chance to chill, chance to slow, or even frailty as a suffix. Now, I'm going to talk about Quicksilver a little bit because I really like it. When I first started playing the build, I wasn't sure about it, but now that haste, it's just too good to give up. It's also really easy to get legendary potential on here, so you can get like 3 or hell even 4 legendary potential. So yeah, really good item. Definitely worth it for that little haste buff for the 30% movement speed increase. And now let's take a look at idols. The big ones here are Chance to end Lightning Aegis when hit, because Lightning Aegis gives you, it doesn't say hit, no it doesn't say hit, but well, Lightning Aegis gives you 25% damage reduction. And then we have these idols, and you want as many of these as possible, really. So you have double damage. So you got the increased lightning damage while you have Lightning Aegis. During Monoliths and Arena, you'll have this up all the time. So you'll have the increased damage, then you want the increased lightning damage as a suffix. It's very hard to get 300 mana with this build, but it is possible with like some finicky gearing with like sealed affixes and stuff. I don't think it's worth it though. But yeah, let's have a look at just how much damage we can make this do if you're able to stand here and do this, which you will be able to on bosses. Pop this, 1 million, and then 400,000 on the return. I didn't actually pop Flame Ward. The damage would have been higher. I've gotten up to 2 million damage before on the target dummy. This absolutely shreds bosses. I'll have a little bit of gameplay at the end. Now, let's take a look at the skills, starting with Flame Reave. Yep, the namesake skill. So here, the kind of priority order is Rhythm of Fire for the every 4th use of Flame Reave. Drastically increases the damage and the range. That's how you get the massive AoE around you. And then you take Versatility, which means you don't have to cast Flame Reave 4 times. You can use Firebrand, or until you get Firebrand, because Firebrand is unlocked at Spellblade level 30, you can use Mana Strike. That's what I did. And then once you've got Versatility, you spec into Rolling Thunder, which converts to Lightning, and Lightning is just a better element than Fire, and it also converts your Ignite to Shock. Shock reducing enemy lightning resistance and therefore increasing your damage with lightning. And once you've taken that, the last node we get is Flame Cooler for the return, and then you can just fill out the rest of the damage nodes in whatever order you want. Now let's take a look at Firebrand. So Firebrand, once you've gotten to the 30 passives inside Spellblade, switch out of Mana Strike for this, and the priority order here I like to go is Illuminating Fire, so you get the guaranteed crit every 3 casts, although you'll cast 4 times, so you have the increased AoE with Flame Reave. Then you want to convert to Lightning through Galvanize, and it's for the same reason, so you get the Ignite to Shock chance to increase your overall damage. And then once you've taken Galvanize, really you can just fill out the rest of the nodes for either defenses or DPS. It depends what you're doing. If you're hardcore, this build is hardcore viable. I would take Insulation first. Now, let's take a look at Enchant Weapon. Enchant Weapon, there's really only a handful of ways to build it. It kind of depends on the element you're playing, so we're playing Lightning, so we're going into Thundering. But the priority order I like to do is go Celerity, then into Concentration, then into Efficacy, and just after that, you just fill out the Lightning nodes. Now, Enchant Weapon is a bit of a weird one. It's kind of like Holy Aura on the Paladin, in that you have both a passive and an active effect on it. As you can see here, the active increases your elemental damage with melee attacks, and then the passive is just more elemental damage with melee attacks. And basically everything on the tree here, apart from efficacy, just increases the active effect. Now let's take a look at Teleport. Teleport is a great skill. It has huge utility, and that's really what we're using it for, not just as a movement skill to get out of the way of things, but the utility it brings. So I like to rush to Mana Tunnel first, which it increases the cooldown while leveling, which is a bit of a pain, but then you go down into Rock Phase and get stun immunity. Then you fill out Tunnel Finder for increased cooldown and time dilation. This means that even with a almost 6-second cooldown on our teleport buffs, so the stun immunity and the increased resistances we get, never runs out before I'm able to teleport again. So it's really strong. I built this the exact same way on Static Orb, that it's just the best way to run teleport. I love it. Being stun immune is so strong, because you get stunned a lot in higher monoliths and arena runs. And Flame Ward, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. Flame Ward is pretty generic. However you play a sorcerer, this is just pretty much how you build it. Because we're stun immune, we're not going cast Flame Ward when stunned. We've got an extra charge here. I would go here first, then into Barrier for the less damage taken when you activate it, then convert it to Lightning, and just fill out the rest of the nodes. Super simple, don't think about it too much. You can use this as both an offensive and defensive ability. So let's get these stacks up a little bit. Boom, 1.2, 460, very nice. Okay, now let's take a look at the passives. Starting off in the Mage tree, little bit of LE damage here, in resistances, little bit of attack speed here. This allows us to attack faster with Firebrand, get those stacks up so we can unleash those Flame Reaves faster. And then this is just crit chance and crit multi. We don't need the crit chance, but crit multi is just more damage. Now, the Spellblade tree. This is, again, a lot of the classes in Last Epoch have this issue, where there's really only a handful of ways to build them. Spellblade is very shoehorned. But here we're getting LE damage, resistances, just flat damage. I know it's fire here, but we're scaling all types of elemental damage, but our primary damage source is lightning. So even things like this are still a very big damage increase. Now, the more interesting nodes here are Arcane Shielding and Shattered Aegis, which give you armor per stack of Arcane Shielding, which is reduced damage and increased armor. Reduced damage taken, sorry. Mana Reaver here allows us to completely negate any mana cost of our skills. So I definitely would rush this once you get up to around this point. You need 25 points in Spellblade to be able to start putting points here, but this will make the build feel a lot smoother. Volker's Razor. This is what allows us to go into Blade Weaving. That's these stacks here, which just give us massive increased elemental damage with a high cost melee attack. High cost melee attack being anything that costs 10 or more mana. Flame Reave costs 27, so we always benefit from this. That's really it here. There's not a whole lot more to talk about. If you have any extra passives, I'm only level 97. I would probably put them here for the mana and armor. It's really a simple build. It's super strong. It clears monoliths and arena like no other. Easily one of the best monolith farmers in the game, and in my opinion, the best way to play a Spellblade right now. So I know I tried to get this out really quick. I didn't want to ramble like my last video, so I really hope it's enough. For the more veteran players, there'll be planners in the description that go over gear options, and you can just look and see the passives and the gear yourself. But if you have any questions, please just ask. I'll have my Twitch channel in the description as well, so if I'm live, you can come and ask me about it there, get an actual personal live response. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.